Hello, what is up? This is Postdoc Chronicles week number 139, and you'll be like, hey, 138 was just like yesterday, right? But yeah, usually my Postdoc Chronicles is like, almost a week late, because usually the one I did yesterday or one day ago was like for last week. But yeah, I have to do the Postdoc Chronicles this week on a Friday, and that's because the game we're featuring today, new Pokemon Snap, is released today, April 30th, 2021 for the Nintendo Switch. And so if you're in the know about the Pokemon Snap, it's basically the sequel, the direct sequel to the old game, which is a Pokemon Snap on the Nintendo 64. So basically this is like the Nintendo 64. Of course, I never had a Nintendo 64 because I'm a handheld guy. The Nintendo 64, I played this exclusively on an emulator. I'm also playing it right now again on my Pi-Boy DMG. And the gameplay is basically you just go around, like, biomes and environments, taking photos of Pokemon. They're like, oh, that's insane. And yeah, it's really good. Like, it tests, because as we know, Pokemon, they do not exist, in real life. And so it gives you, that experience of going into the wild and then being like a wildlife photographer, and then catching Pokemon, in their habitats, like during the night and then under the sea and all these things. And it's very fascinating. And yeah, the new one I haven't played yet, but man, when I opened it, I look at the opening scene. The graphics is way better than Pokemon Sword and Shield. And then the one that really blew my mind is like there's a voice acting. Like I'm really sad about Pokemon Sword and Shield. I really expected it to be a very huge jump in terms of the current generation, because, like, for example, like they did with a Zelda on the Nintendo Switch, that's like a huge, like a mind-blowing improvement, for the new console. However, Pokemon Sword and Shield is kind of let me down. Like, in the introduction of Pokemon Sword and Shield, you have this guy that with the Charizard that does the Gigantamax, and then that's how the intro was. Like, there was like a gym battle, and then it's very jarring because you have all these graphics and all these things, and then people were like cheering, yeah, and then when they talk, there was no voice action, there was no voice acting at all, which is very, very weird, very jarring. The characters will be like, they'll just, their mouth will just be moving with no voice. And also, Game Freak really chipped out on us. So fortunately, this one, yes, it's still Pokemon, it's still, partly by Game Freak, but I think another party, third party developed the graphics and the engine and all these things. So it's really sad, that we didn't get this particular graphics for the Pokemon Sword and Shield. It would have been amazing, but yeah, that's why Pokemon Sword and Shield got its backlash that it did. It even until now doesn't have all the Pokemon, in the 8th generation, which is really sad. That's the only Pokemon that doesn't have that. But anyway, yeah, this one though, it's very amazing. Like, again, like I said, you go underground, you take pictures of Pokemon. I don't know how many Pokemons are in here. I'm not sure if it's everything, maybe 200 plus or something like that, but still, it's still nice, because again, in the Pokemon Snap for the Nintendo 64, I don't think every Pokemon was in there. But yeah, it's really a very fascinating game. Check it out. Again, new Pokemon Snap, Nintendo 64, new Pokemon Snap for the Nintendo Switch, released today. But anyway, going to the Postdoc. So I mentioned last time, we solved the sim step in the PMSSM, but then we have this. So I presented last week, and then I also we had a meeting just 1 p.m. a while ago, and then I told them, I presented this problem where when the production people run it on our event files, there's this thing called the GUID, and it turns out that the samples that I've been generating had the same GUID. And again, I didn't know this. I didn't know that they were looking. I didn't even before when I generated my events, I didn't even know the existence of a GUID until then. And it turns out GUID is something like if you're playing with, if you're familiar with ROMs or video games, usually when you look at like bin files or stuff, usually you look at the MD5 or the hash of the file. So it's basically like a unique string of numbers or letters or combination of characters that is unique to that particular file. So GUID acts the same way, but GUID is produced in different ways. So I read about it, because again, it's the first time I've heard about it, and then I thought it's like an Atlas thing, but it turns out GUID, just like the MD5 hash, it's like a universal thing. And the way it's produced is sometimes the random number associated with a particular file is randomized. Sometimes it's based on the time, or the date that you created that particular file. But it turns out that what's happening here within my generation is that because the GUID could be produced in a third way, and that third way is based on the name of the file that you have. And it turns out the ones I'm generating is actually using this, and I know that because again, when I was generating the files so that they could be merged in order to circumvent the step on the SIM that is giving an error on the merged files that I had to make it in such a way that the DSIDs have the same name. So like I mentioned before, I buried them 2 folders deep, and then when I was generating that, they had the event files that I was creating had exactly the same name. So even though they had like a different random seed, they have a different they are different processes, they come from different batches. They all, since I named them in exactly the same way, they all got the same GUID, which was, again, I didn't expect that because I didn't even know that the GUID exists. So this guy, Mateo from the production, asked me, how come you have the same GUID? I'm like, I don't know what GUID is. I researched what GUID is, and then I found that the one of the things that 2 files, even though they're different, could have the same GUID is if the generation of the GUID depends on the name of the file itself. And so it's really weird because even though I told Mateo that's weird because if you look at these files, they are obviously different files because they are of different sizes, and I'm sure that they're different because I simulated them using different random seeds each. But then when you look at their GUID, that they have the same GUID, and again, it must be because the GUID generation when I generated it is based on their name. And so with that, I tried to troubleshoot it, and indeed I was correct when I generated in such a way that each file upon generation carries an additional tag such that each will have a unique name. Then the GUIDs also became unique for each. So I don't have that problem anymore. And then I told Mateo, I generated the smallest number of the model points that I have, the 4105, I think, the SLHA 4105, and then I told him that's only 50,000. I told him, hey, before I generate the others, the million ones, could you check the 50,000, because what happened is that, when I generated, there was a SIM step. I had to solve the SIM step, I had to generate again, and then there's this another problem with the GUID, so I had to generate again. So maybe there's still some other problems down the line. So I asked Mateo, hey Mateo, can you test these 50,000 events first, just to see if maybe down the pipeline there's yet another problem that will crop up, so that we see it right away with my 50,000 events, and then I'll solve it. If ever there is, then I can apply the solution to the other million events that I have. Fortunately, he just replied, just before our PMSSM meeting a while ago, and he was like, no, the files that you have are now fine. The SIM steps are now running fine on them. The GUID is fine. At least that's what I interpret when he said my files look fine now. And so what I'll be doing is during the weekend, in fact, the other batch, the one that contains some 80,000, just 80,000 the model points with just 80,000 events, I'm already generated it, and then currently I'm generating the one with the hundreds or order 100K number of events, which in total will be 1 million events. So hopefully over the weekend it will be done, and then by Monday or by Sunday hopefully I can upload it. But anyway guys, and then MUED, I'm still waiting for the draft. Christoph said he won't be. He told me that he told me that maybe he will be making the comments within this week. But then he just emailed me a while ago that he can't make it. So maybe he'll upload his final comments maybe next week. And then also finally, there's this grant in the Philippines called ECWG, Enhanced Creative Work and Research Grant, something like that, where they give you a specific money. If you're an artist, they give you a money in order to produce a work of art or something, within a period of 18 months. That's basically 1.5 years. As a researchers like us, scientists like me, they give you 18 months to be able to publish a paper. So I got my proposal got accepted basically, and it's very nice, because for me it's like the funding is like 450,000 pesos up to 650 if you're like a professor, but I'm just a lowly assistant professor, so my grant is just 500,000 pesos, so that's 500,000. So basically they're just saying, okay, here's 500,000, publish within 18 months, which is something, of course, that's my job as a physicist, which should be something that's doable. And in fact, you know, the proposal that I sent is actually also in MUED, minimal universal extra dimensions. So there's that. So I believe the contract we met last, like I mentioned, my last Postdoc Chronicles, I came from that meeting. Actually, we met yesterday. The start of the contract will be May 15, and then 18 months after that, I should be able to publish a paper, which should be doable. So on paper, it looks very nice, you know, $500,000 in the face, you know, just to publish a paper. But then since the nice thing is you don't have to submit, you know, a line item budget or how you will use that 500,000. So they just give that to you outright. They don't even ask, 500,000, where will you buy that? What will be, give us the receipt? No, it's not like that. It's like an honorarium. So that's the nice thing. But the disadvantage, since it acts like an honoraria, it carries with it withholding tax, which is an insane, I think it's around 30%, 33% or something like that. So on top of $500,000, 33% withholding tax, and then that's what I get. And then I don't even get the whole amount right away, because they release it by tranche. So I believe upon signing of the contract on May, of course I don't get it right away on May, because they will still process it. But after it's processed, I'll be receiving 50% of the grant, minus of course the 33% withholding tax. And then after 9 months, you will give an update, you know, like how is it going along, will you be able to publish a paper? So that is then they will, once you give the update, they will give 30% of the grant. And then finally, once you give the deliverable, you show them, here's the paper that came out of that grant, here's your, you know, acknowledgement, you're in the paper. And then once they're like, okay, very nice, then you get the remaining at 20%. But anyway, guys, yeah, it's a very, very nice grant. It's just unfortunate that there's like a, you know, 33% deduction. So effectively, I'm getting something like, I don't know, around 375 or something like that. I'm not sure, or something like that, 300,000, a third of 500K basically. But anyway, yeah. That has been the Postdoc Chronicles week number 100. Over the weekend, I'm also finishing my. I want to be able to submit my QT note at least to Giancarlo first over the weekend, you know. But thanks for watching, guys. This is Postdoc Chronicles week number 139. See you next time, and bye bye.